ball that glitters. Even second-place finish doesn't tarnish a golden Olympics for the United States, while another scandal brews. And in-depth, Athens 2004. A look ahead at the plans and the problems facing the next Summer Games. Still alive. Has Osama bin Laden escaped the American dragnet?
He may be in Afghanistan. I think that's the likeliest possibility.
Missed opportunity. Reports that Daniel Pearl's kidnapper was being hunted by the U.S. before Pearl's kidnapping. And down under, to Australians' upside-down view of the Winter Games.
From NBC News World Headquarters in New York, this is NBC Nightly News, reported by John Seigenthaler.
Good evening, everyone. A dramatic finish to the Winter Olympic Games today in Salt Lake City. The final event, men's ice hockey, and a win for Canada over the United States. Still heading into tonight's closing ceremony, this has been the best showing ever for the U.S. team at the Winter Games, with a grand total of 34 medals. But these games have also been filled with controversy. And tonight, the International Olympic Committee disqualified 3 athletes, 2 of them gold medal winners, who failed drug tests. We begin our coverage with NBC's Rahima Ellis in Salt Lake. Rahima?
John, the 17 days of these Winter Olympic Games were filled with extraordinary thrills and unexpected results. Day by day, creating so much drama, it made these the games to watch. For the grand finale of the Games, excitement at a fever pitch. The United States and Canada in a North America face-off for hockey gold. Interest so intense, it was expected to be one of the most watched hockey games ever. In a thrilling 5-2 finish, Canada beats the United States to capture gold for the first time in 50 years. 2 of the most talked about athletes of the Games, who have to share the gold with Canada, returned home to Russia today to a hero's welcome. This skating duo will not be part of the extravagant closing ceremonies tonight. But even on this last day of the Olympics, controversy that has in part defined these games just won't go away. Today, yet another explanation from the French judge at the center of the pair's judging scandal. Marie-Rayenne Legoun telling the New York Times today that it was the Canadians who pressured her and not her own French Federation, as earlier reported. The head of the Canadian Olympic Association says, don't believe it. Also, late this afternoon, stunning developments. The International Olympic Committee stripped 3 athletes of their medals because of positive tests for performance-enhancing substances. The Spaniard who won gold in the 50-kilometer cross-country skiing, and 2 Russian women who medaled in the women's 30K cross-country, including the Russian woman who was disqualified 3 days ago following a positive drug test.
The IOC Executive Board took 3 decisions in 3 doping matters.
Boy band NSYNC will be part of a star lineup performing at the closing ceremonies.
I think it'll be beautiful and fun, but it's exciting and entertaining and celebrating in nature.
Later tonight, the Olympic flame will be extinguished and these Winter Games will be history. But despite the politics of sports that dominated the headlines, many people say they will also remember the astounding achievements of so many athletes and the new medals record set by the United States. John?
NBC's Rahima Ellis. Rahima, thank you. Now to the search for Osama bin Laden. There are new questions tonight about whether the most wanted man in the world is dead or alive, and what President Bush has planned as the next step in the war on terror. NBC's Nora O'Donnell joins us tonight from the White House. Nora?
Good evening, John. Tonight, day 141 of U.S. military operations in Afghanistan. And senior Bush administration officials say that while the odds are Osama bin Laden is still alive, his al-Qaeda terrorist network has been severely disrupted. Today, for the first time, top U.S. officials admit they've intercepted almost no communications from bin Laden for nearly 2 months.
It's been very quiet on that front for since early January. We just haven't heard a lot from him.
Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld on NBC's Meet the Press.
If he's alive, he's very busy hiding somewhere, and he is having a dickens of a time communicating with his people.
U.S. officials still don't know if bin Laden may have been killed in a Hellfire missile attack in Zawar-Kili by a CIA Predator drone. Forensic tests are underway at the FBI in Washington. But Rumsfeld is emphatic those killed were not innocent civilians.
Well, I've watched the video from the Predator unmanned aerial vehicle, and the suggestion that those people were scrap collectors is ludicrous.
Today, President Bush in Washington went to church as there are reports he plans to meet with Britain's Tony Blair to discuss broadening the war to Iraq. White House officials would say only that Blair is likely to return to the White House soon to discuss a wide variety of issues. But will the U.S. be ready to take on Saddam Hussein? Today's Washington Post reports Pentagon planners will need 6 months to produce enough precision-guided bombs to engage Iraq. Stockpiles of such smart bombs have been severely depleted. More than 10,000 dropped in Afghanistan.
We are rapidly replenishing the things we need, and we have no intention of trying to do things we're not capable of doing.
And tonight, late word that the U.S. military base in Kandahar, Afghanistan, has come under attack. 4 rockets were fired at the base. No one was injured, but security has been stepped up. John?
Thanks very much, NBC's Nora O'Donnell at the White House. On to the search for those responsible for the execution of Wall Street Journal reporter Daniel Pearl in Pakistan. New reports claim the primary suspect in the case was accused by the U.S. of kidnapping another American before Pearl was abducted. NBC's Tom Aspel is in Karachi.
The CIA and the FBI were hot on the trail of Ahmed Omar Saeed Sheikh well before he became the chief suspect in the kidnap and murder of American reporter Daniel Pearl. According to Newsweek magazine, in November last year, the U.S. Justice Department secretly indicted him for the 1994 kidnapping in India of another American, Bela Noose. Indian police freed Noose and 3 other European hostages and jailed Saeed Sheikh. A year later, he was released in exchange for passengers aboard an Indian airliner hijacked by his accomplices to the Afghan city of Kandahar. 2 weeks before Daniel Pearl went missing in Karachi on January 23rd, American Ambassador Wendy Chamberlain urged the Pakistanis to find Saeed Sheikh and hand him over to the U.S. for trial. Law enforcement officials from both countries were working on Saeed Sheikh's case before his involvement in the Pearl kidnapping became known. On Meet the Press this morning, Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld said Saeed Sheikh might now be a candidate for trial before an American military tribunal.
He certainly would be someone that has committed a crime against an American, and would be someone I assume that our law enforcement people, the Department of Justice, would try to extradite.
Saeed Sheikh will appear in a Karachi court again tomorrow to be questioned about the kidnap and murder of Daniel Pearl. At least 5 other suspects are still at large. U.S. investigators are anxious to find out if Saeed Sheikh has links with Osama bin Laden's al-Qaeda organization. They already consider Pearl's murder to be the first terrorist attack against American interests since September 11 last year. Tom Aspel, NBC News, Karachi.
In the Middle East, Israel decided to pull back its tanks from Yasser Arafat's compound today, but continued to keep the Palestinian leader confined to the West Bank city of Ramallah. NBC's Martin Fletcher reports from Tel Aviv.
It was a further humiliation for Arafat today. The Israeli cabinet decided he would still not be allowed to leave the West Bank town of Ramallah. Arafat's been under virtual house arrest for more than 2 months. Arafat did what Sharon wanted. Last week, he arrested 3 Palestinian militants suspected of helping to assassinate an Israeli cabinet minister in October. But that still isn't enough for the right-wing Israeli leaders.
The ability of Arafat to depart from Ramallah will be brought as a separate decision to the forum that the Prime Minister will decide after consulting with the Defense Minister.
Translation, Arafat will stay where he is. Palestinian leaders reacted with fury.
This is unacceptable and shameless decision by the Israeli government.
Israel got support today from New York Senator Hillary Clinton touring Israel. Here in Jerusalem in a pizza parlor where a suicide bomber killed 16 Israelis last August. She called Arafat untrustworthy and no partner for peace.
Yasser Arafat bears the responsibility for the violence that has occurred. It rests on his shoulders. And even today, he could do more.
But after one of the bloodiest weeks of the uprising, in which more than 50 Palestinians and Israelis died, the last few days have seen a lull in the violence. After the cabinet vote today, angry Palestinians cancelled a scheduled meeting between Israeli and Palestinian security officials. It was aimed at stopping the violence. Now, with Arafat still confined to Ramallah, it isn't clear if that tentative hope for a ceasefire is still alive or not. Martin Fletcher, NBC News, Tel Aviv.
From Rome tonight, new information on a potential terrorist plot against Americans. Italian authorities are now investigating whether holes found in the walls of a utility tunnel near the U.S. Embassy in Rome are linked to a potential cyanide attack on the embassy and Rome's water supply. 9 Moroccan men have been arrested in connection with the case. Still to come on NBC Nightly News, showdown in Washington. Why is there such a firestorm over President Bush's nomination of this man to the Federal Court of Appeals? And later, NBC News in depth, the 2004 Summer Olympics. Will Athens be ready? On Capitol Hill, a battle is brewing over the confirmation of the president's nominee to the Federal Court of Appeals. NBC's Joe Johns reports.
Judge Charles Pickering of Mississippi faced 2 confirmation hearings before the Senate Judiciary Committee, but his federal appeals court nomination is in trouble.
It would be a tremendous mistake to put someone as polarizing in this position now.
More opposition coming from powerful groups including the National Organization for Women.
He has an extreme bias towards the enforcement of women's rights laws and particularly civil rights laws.
The NAACP is opposed too, even though some blacks in Pickering's home state support him.
I do not hold people accountable for something that happened 25 or 30 years ago.
The judge, as recently as last Thursday, calling for racial reconciliation.
I look forward to the day, hopefully during my lifetime, when all Mississippians, regardless of race, can get around the table and discuss our differences in a constructive way.
The 12 regional courts of appeals get the final word on the vast majority of important federal cases. There are 29 vacancies. The Senate has voted on 7 appeals court judgeships, but Pickering is the biggest confrontation so far.
This is a good man that people are really trying to smear in a way that is not becoming of the institution.
Some observers call this a dress rehearsal for future battles between the White House and Senate Democrats over the Supreme Court.
It's a warning shot across the bow of the ship of state led by President Bush that please do not give us conservative Supreme Court nominees.
A vote on the nomination could come later this week, setting down a new marker between the White House and the Senate over federal judges. Joe Johns, NBC News, Washington.
Word tonight from Minnesota Senator Paul Wellstone that he's been diagnosed with a mild form of multiple sclerosis. The 57-year-old Democratic senator says the diagnosis will not prevent him from campaigning for a 3rd term. According to his doctor, the disease is progressive, but Wellstone will not need any medication and can proceed with his normal activities. When NBC Nightly News continues, the Athens Olympics and how to prepare a 3,000-year-old city for the 21st century games. For the Athens Olympics, August 13th, 2004 is the day the Olympic flame will be lit in the city where it all began. And that's where we find NBC's Brian Williams tonight. Good evening, Brian.
Good evening to you, John. And the view from here seems to be the games will go on, but differently. The cultural differences may mean they won't be so overwhelmingly organized as were, say, the Summer Olympic Games in Atlanta in '96. You won't see the perfect, neat lines of people and shuttle buses, even that we're seeing in Salt Lake City. So the games will go on, and the Greeks are anxious to remind the world, after all, they were invented here. Greek weightlifter Pyros Dimas, already a 2-time Olympic champion. He is hoping here to break his own world record. And the metaphor here is impossible to ignore. Athens has some very heavy lifting to do before the games can begin. This is a nation of 10 million preparing to welcome the world. They are spending $6 billion to do it. Not since the U.S. space program has so much money been spent so quickly in a single cause.
This is exciting, it's difficult, but we're trying to modernize the infrastructure as well.
Even the head of the games here admits modernizing a place that's 3,000 years old has its challenges. Like when you try to build anything in Greece, from highways to hotels. The preservationists show up because just about anywhere you're digging into history.
I'm sure in Sydney and Salt Lake and Atlanta there were construction challenges, but not of the scope where every time you put a shovel into the ground, you might be uncovering something of over 3,000 years old.
Another factor, the modern Greek culture, which often seems to Westerners to be saying, enjoy life and live for today. Tomorrow's problems can be fixed tomorrow. That can be a problem where construction and security are concerned because both are badly needed right now.
We must be ready every day, now, tomorrow, yesterday, to fight every threat.
Greece has a terrorism problem. A local radical group known as 17 November, the date of a student uprising back in the 70s. The U.S. Embassy here is a fortress under heavy guard. A plaque at the embassy remembers those assassinated just because they represented American interests.
I wouldn't necessarily advertise that I was an American.
American track star Alan Johnson here in Athens warming up for the Olympics by winning the hurdles event at a world track meet, looking over his shoulder for more than just his opponents.
I think right now everybody is in a heightened state of security, so I think right now we probably feel a little bit more secure than before. Terrorism's been going on for a long time. I've been coming over here for a long time, so if we're going to get hit, we're going to get hit.
The Greeks know they must cooperate with agencies like the U.S. Secret Service, who constantly train for this kind of thing. After all, the whole world is watching.
Greece cooperates with the IOC, with the European Union, with the United States, with all those international security agencies that are going to want to help Greece. I think the chances of a successful event are high.
So the heavy lifting begins, just like the kind that did indeed win Pyros Dimos his new world record. Bottom line, how ready are they? Well, back when they were hoping for the '96 games, they went ahead and built a huge Olympic stadium and venues for swimming and basketball. Now they all need updating. Other places will be built from the ground up. John, back to you.
NBC's Brian Williams in Athens. Brian, thank you. When we come back, two boys from down under and their view of the Salt Lake Olympics. The Winter Games are over. The big party, the closing ceremony, is tonight. But for two television hosts from Australia, the party has been underway from the start. Here's NBC's Roger O'Neill.
Albert, hi. I'm HG. How are you? Yes. Lovely to see you again, Albert.
Well, Australia's funny men are back.
Love you guys.
Roy and HG.
Yes, hello everyone, and welcome to the ice stream here in Salt Lake City.
Unlike American commentators, the boys' view of the Olympics is lighter. The do-nothing luge, for example.
And Roy, I can't think of a sport in which men are closer together than the doubles luge.
Curling has caught their attention.
It's coming down the straight. It's entering into the garden path. It's knocked one.
And as the pair's ice skating scandal raged, HG had a different angle.
They're not married, but I can see he's got lipstick on his collar if you look at that, and that'll indicate so.
Their irreverent satire 2 years ago in Australia set new audience numbers for late-night TV. One favorite, men's gymnastics.
Date, spinning date. Oh, party date. Hello, boys. Hello, boys.
While it's summer in Australia, their broadcast from Salt Lake in a fake chalet with phony snow is again capturing a big audience.
Australians take life a little bit lighter, don't you think, than most Americans?
We don't put as much sugar in the tea, is the way I would describe it.
HG says there's been no shortage of material.
The state of Utah offers a magical Pandora's box of fun lifestyle elements slaved up to the Olympics.
For example, outdoor dining in a 65 convertible.
What about these fries with fries sauce?
That's our specialty.
Here it is. Look at this. Wow.
Are you ready for it?
Fries, sauce,
take
and
us
fries.
through it.
Perfect.
Well, that is sensational.
Sensational. That's right.
It doesn't get any better than that.
Just like NBC, all the Olympians come on with Roy and HG. Even International Olympic President Jacques Rogas showed up to hear a pitch to bring the 2010 Winter Games to a little hill in Australia.
It's your kind of town, Jacques. It's your kind of... I mean, sure, the cheese mightn't be very good.
It's humor with an edge. The Australian ice stream. complete with a fake fireplace. Roger O'Neill, NBC News, Salt Lake City.
Now here's Stone Phillips with a preview of tonight's Dateline Olympic special.
Thanks, John. As the crowds gather in Salt Lake City to honor all the Olympic heroes, we have the remarkable stories of two of America's greatest Olympians. Before Sarah Hughes, before Michelle Kwan, there were the struggles and triumphs of Peggy Fleming and Dorothy Hamill.
I love the movement of dance and that effortless, wispiness of a ballet dancer.
She was just, so fluid and so lovely, just delicate. I was a truck driver. I was not delicate. There's nothing delicate about me.
What drove them to skate out of obscurity and into the hearts of America? Peggy and Dorothy, a Dateline Olympic special tonight on Dateline Sunday. John?
Thanks, Stone. And of course, tonight, the closing Olympic ceremony here on NBC. That is NBC Nightly News for this Sunday. Thanks for watching. I'm Seigenthaler in New York, and I'll see you next weekend, if not before.